This video today here is for a comparison between the Makita belt sander and the Weld belt sander. Going from one of the more expensive belt sanders to pretty much the cheapest one I could find. I was originally going to use the Harbor Freight one, but the Weld is about 10 bucks cheaper to buy, and they do basically the same thing. They're both belt sanders, obviously. So I'm going to do a comparison to see if it's worth spending the extra money for this, or you can get away with this, or they're about the same. The first part of this video is going to be opening the boxes, show you what's inside. So I'm just going to start with the Makita. This is how it comes right from the store. It's nicely packed in there. We have looks like little instructions with 2 belts in it. And then flap here, and belt sander, and there's also actual instructions. So that's all that's in the box. Okay, so I'll put these on this side. Opening the Weld sander here. This one requires a knife because they tape the box all the way around.
The moth.
That's the moth? I thought it was a ladybug.
So. Oh, was it a ladybug?
It's like, can you see this okay?
Yeah.
They didn't want you to get into this box. Okay. So here's the Weld box. The belt and the belt sander. Nothing else in the box. Plastic. Alright, so one of the first things I see here, I mean, this is a 3/8 belt, so it's narrower, and this is a 1/2 inch belt. The first thing, I think it says it right on the box. Second thing I see here, comes with 1 belt on it and 2 in the bag for the Weld, and Makita comes with just 2 belts. And the third thing I see here right off the bat is it has a neat little vacuum pickup, like you could hook your vacuum cleaner to it to suck the dust. So that's actually a pretty neat feature right off the bat. Okay, so on this vacuum attachment, you can use either a bag or a vacuum cleaner, and it says to use a 1 1/4 inner dimension. Okay, we're going to go over here to Makita, and it's got this it's like a rubber plug. You pull the rubber plug out. Now, in order to use this, you have to use, I guess, the Makita attachment to use a vacuum. And they even say you use a Makita. They specify like a Makita adapter, and it says 1 1/8 inner dimension, but I mean 1 1/4 to 1 1/8. I mean, that's a huge difference. So that 1/8 of an inch, they have some kind of adapter that adapts this to a hose that goes to the vacuum. So it's like a whole thing in itself, instead of just, I think I have a vacuum floating around the house that will fit right on this. If not, throw some duct tape on it, connect the two hoses together, it'll work the same way. Now, the second thing is your size. Obviously, there's a noticeable difference in size. You're really going from, you know, handle to handle, but huge weight difference. The Makita, you know, the Makita's built to be used and used. I'm sure virtually indestructible, but it's noticeably heavier than the Wen. The third thing I see here is the adjustability. You know, you can change your angle. It's solid, feels like cast aluminum. I'm assuming it's cast aluminum. Just take a magnet to it and see if it's steel. Now, because of the weight difference, I just wanted to check for myself. I got myself a little neodymium magnet, and I'm checking to make sure, you know, because it just feels heavy. So, and really, the weight is this electric motor here on the side, because it's let's see, what, 4 amps, 4.4 amps. So it's a decent sized motor, you know. But this is all aluminum, and go over here to the Wen. It's the same thing. It's all aluminum housing. You know, this is one of those things where you probably end up holding it like this to operate it, because it wants to weight itself this way, heavy this side. Now the other thing is got this lever here, and the lever, you can position it in any one of these positions. It's got an arc here. You can see how far, for whatever reason, maybe the space you're standing in, you need it to fit, so you can lock it in any position and work and sand, and then if you need to move it. Doesn't affect the sandpaper because it just runs around this pulley here, the sandpaper. So you can literally lock it in any position in sand. So you basically have, it's more than a 90 degree, I think. No, actually looking at it here, this is not quite. So from all the way up here to down here, it looks to be darn close to a 90 degree that can be changed position-wise. We'll go over to the Wen, and the Wen has a little knob here to turn, and you can see right on the side here, it looks more like a 45 degree, I guess. So if you turn it, you can adjust it. And I can feel it as I turn it, it feels like it has little increments. So you can put it anywhere along that. It's got like a little, you can feel it as it moves. It goes almost like a click, 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 click. And then you can lock it in. So you can get the same thing. You can hear it. Okay. So you can lock it in and go to sanding. Like here, it's light enough. I feel like I can do one-handed for quite a while. This one here, your hand's going to tire out because it's so much heavier. Yeah, I looked in the manuals instead of weighing them. It says right in the manuals on the first page on each one, states up at the top here, the weight for the Makita is 3.5 pounds. Doesn't sound like a whole lot, but if you hold it for a couple hours, you're going to be feeling it. And then same thing with the Wen. It says down here 2.4 pounds. Okay, now I'm going to go over here to the Wen for a second, and the reason is the vacuum attachment that's on here. You can push these two little tabs outwards, and that attachment comes off. So for some reason you need space or whatever, you just don't want it on there, it's easy enough to remove. You need a little handy attachment, comes right off. Okay, on the Wen, to remove the belt, it's pretty simple. You take it and you push it down, and you hear that button snap. You see the belt's loose. You literally slide it right off, pull a new one out, fit it around, and then this button, make sure it's centered, releases. So that's back on, ready to go. Scratch the table. All right, for the Makita, belt, you have this lever. Pull the lever back. Now it moves freely, and it's one-handed. Belt in, just fits over. You can see it, and then just. That's on there. Okay, right out of the package, the Makita comes with two 80 grit. That's what it supplies you with right out of the package, out of the box. The Wen, right out of the package, I had to take the belt back off. just to be able to read what it was. You have one 80 grit, one 120 grit, and then you have a 320 grit. So it comes with 3 different grits right out of the pack. When you're putting the sandpaper on the belt sander, look inside of it. You should see an arrow, and that arrow means it's directional. If you put it on the wrong way, it'll actually wear the paper out. It'll peel it apart at the seam usually. So you want to make sure when you put it on in the right direction, that the belt sander turns. Same with the Wen. On the Wen sandpaper, there's little arrows that indicate the direction that the belt should be turning. So make sure you put on the sandpaper correct direction on both of them. This wheel here on the side makes the belt run straight. Right now I can see that it's going crooked. So you can adjust it. You can actually see it moving. Before I run it and have it run right off the thing, and when you think you've got it adjusted good enough, because if you were to have it not adjusted, it would run right off. As soon as you turn it on, it would run off real quick. So just easier to just kind of have it adjusted so it tracks straight on there and stays in place. So you should be good. That's locked. Now, looking in the instructions, the best I could tell, I couldn't find anywhere that said anything about adjustment to make sure it tracks straight. So I'm assuming right out of the box it should track straight. On the Makita, it's 4.4 amps. It runs 4.4 amps, and the belt turns with the variable speed, turns between 300 to 1700 RPMs. Okay. On the Wen, it's 2 amps, and the belt turns at 1100 to 1700 RPMs. So I'll show you here. Okay, plugged in on the bottom side here. It's got a lot of little clicks for increments to the variable speed, but it goes from 1 to 6. It's real hard to see, I guess, in the video. This is what 1 sounds like. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so that's 1700 RPM at 6. Now we're going to go over here to the Wen. Now the Wen, same thing. I don't feel any clicks to the dial. It's just 1 to 6, but when you hit 6, it actually clicks in. Dial it in, and when you hit 6, it goes to like an audible click. You can actually feel it too, but it goes in. So now let's go, and here's the power switch. It's just a little switch. So that's 1100 RPM. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they're both just as loud as each other. I'm going to say, if you were listening to that all day long, you may want to put hearing protection in. Same with if you're sanding, use face dust protection. I guess it's on to testing them. These sanders. I have a vehicle that I'm working on here that I cut a patch in and welded it in, but there's such tight space in here I can't get without destroying this material underneath.
I can't get in and grind the weld. Planned on buying the Makita anyway to do stuff like this with it, and I figured, you know what, I might as well make a review out of it because not everybody wants to spend $250 for a tool like this. Now, this tool here is under 40 bucks, and you know, it's only a few dollars cheaper than the Harbor Freight one, but I figured go with the cheapest against the pretty much most expensive, and I had to buy this anyway, so let's spend 40 bucks and make a review out of this. So this is what I really end up needing it for, is to tack steel in here like this. So really, it's to see how well it takes down the steel, and it really depends on how good the actual sandpaper is. But the tool is still going to do what I want it to do in this tight space, because that grinder can only hit an area like this, and I can't get into this little spot here. So let's give the Makita a shot at it. I guess I'm going to try it on 3, and I know it's not going to slow down at all because the Makita is 4 amps. So let's just see what it does here. Taking it down, but you know what? I'm going up to 6. Here, what the heck? Oh, hell yeah. I mean, from 3 to 6, that's a world of difference. Paper is definitely a lot smoother. No slowing it down. I mean, the only thing that's gonna die out here is the sandpaper. I was pushing pretty hard on this. Let's just chew it through the steel here. Okay, so I'm extremely pleased with the Makita and how it performed. I mean, I pushed hard and it just tore right through that steel. And it was a nice solid bead. I'll show it here before I try the win on the steel. Video, you can see here, this welded piece here, the steel from the MIG welder, was double the thickness over here. I actually had a glob right in this spot, and that Makita just tore right through that and did exactly what I wanted to do. I'm extremely happy with that. Now you can see here, me and the grinder zinging this part of the panel here, which I got to touch up and repair that. But my biggest concern was, this is a welded steel patch in here to cut out the rust, and Makita did exactly what I wanted to do. Tore through that steel, and like I said, really, there's no slowing down that Makita. I pushed into it pretty hard. So I got the Wen hooked up, and I'm going to give the Wen, it's a 2 amp. I'm going to start it on 1, which would be around the same as the Makita, probably on a 3. But the Makita is 4.4 amps, and this is 2 amps. Let's see what the Wen does to this steel. Okay, it seems about the same speed-wise. You know, 1,000 RPM versus the 1 on this being a 80 grit paper on the Makita, 80 grit paper on the Wen, and I'm going to go up to 3, which is probably like 1,500 RPM, and then I'll go all the way to 6, you know, like the Makita, 1,700 versus this one, you know. So let's scoot this up to 3. I can see the metal flying off of it. I pushed as hard as I pushed with the Makita on it, and the paper actually stopped at the speed it's going right now. Paper stopped and it spun on here. So at this point, we're still going less than the full speed of the Makita, and this doesn't have as strong as a grip on this paper to spin it. So let's see what the 1600 RPM or 17 with the max speed of the Wen, see what it does to this. And you can see this little section here, it's taking it down. You know, it's definitely doing its job. So let's tear it up with the full speed. Okay, so you can see I burned a little hole through this, so I'm going to have to go back and MIG weld that again. The Wen's getting the job done. I did about the same distance. Maybe took me a little bit longer, but for the under $40 for the grinder, the Wen gets the job done. It's getting a little warm because I'm running it longer. It's not. I mean, it's like room temperature. It's not ice cold. It's kind of cool outside here. So, but you can see I burnt through the metal here. So like I said, I have to go back and MIG weld that some more to fill that hole in. And I go back to the Makita here. That quick, the Makita just chews through that metal, right through that steel. So let me switch back to the Wen's full speed. You know, I ground that area, and you can see the Makita. I ground that area too. That's the Makita tearing through the steel, and that's the Wen tearing through the steel. The Wen doesn't throw sparks like the Makita, and that could be the abrasive. The actual abrasive paper quality could be better. But if you look at the abrasives, you know, the Wen's a 1/2 inch, the Makita is a 3/8, and the paper's still going after the steel. The grinding the steel is still in good shape. So let's take the Makita and flatten this out. And the fact that you can take the Makita and go down to 300 RPM, that's nice. You know, you really can precisely control what you're grinding. You know, even if I'm working at some paint here and not steel. Trying to sand paint in the spot that you can't get to. Go up to number 2. You know, taking the paint off. Doesn't like the lower speeds. I mean, I'm barely even pushing on it. So, that's it. Yeah, like I said, I have to go and touch up. I ground through because I wasn't really paying attention. I was paying attention to more playing with the tool than how much I was grinding on this metal. So, got the MIG weld ground off all the way smooth, all the way around it. And I'm happy with both the Wen and the Makita. Now, granted, Makita just tears through the metal like it's not even there. The Wen does just as good a job, and it gets through the metal in, you know, like if you were to do a comparison on time, run both at the same time, I would say the Makita can go through the metal twice as fast as the Wen can. But the Wen gets the job done, so it's a win for both.
Really not much, a whole lot more you can really show coming to using a sander other than just going to sand wood, plastic, or anything else that you pretty much put it up to. It's just going to sand it. I've been using Makita products like this grinder here. I've had this 20 years and I've used the hell out of it. So I'm already partial to Makita to begin with. I was spending the money. I figured I might as well spend a little extra, do a little review against, you could say, a competitor, because at the price point of this, what you pay for this, I could buy 6, almost 7 of these to one Makita, okay? But this may last just as long, but it may not take the sheer abuse that this Makita might. Now, granted, you can see in the video on it took the metal down. It wasn't as fast as the Makita, but it's still an excellent half-inch belt sander for the money. Do you have a product that you need a job done quicker? Makita. When you're a hobbyist working in your garage, you don't need something crazy fast, but it will get the job done. When? That's where I'm going here. Instead of, you know, trying different materials and testing to see how long it goes through something, I just jump right on some steel. Attack the hardest metal that you're probably going to attack with one of these, something steel, and see how fast it goes through it. See, something I didn't show in the video, maybe a little bit I did. I was mainly using this part of the sander to sand on, but there's this section here, there's this flat plate that you can sand a flat surface, you know, back and forth, which I did do it a little bit in the video, but I didn't really explain it. So you have both sides of this that you can actually push against, top or bottom, or out here on the wheel to actually sand. And the same goes for the Makita. They have the same kind of surface, and Makita's is a little more flexible. The Wen one has very little movement. You push on it, like actually pushing pretty hard, very little movement. And the Makita, you can maybe make it out in the video. It takes almost nothing to move it a little bit, but then it's got like little boards or something in there to cushion how far it can actually go. So anyway, didn't want to forget that part of my video, but I used them both. They're both excellent sanders for their purpose, whether you're a home hobbyist or someone who does this all the time, day in, day out. I hope this video helped you out on making a decision whether to buy a Wen half-inch belt sander or a Makita 3/8 belt sander. On that note, thank you for watching. Give me a like, share, and subscribe, because you never know what I'm going to do next.